Business Leaders of Today is presented by Tess Turin, marketing and advertising consultant, and Angel Nowlin, who specializes in business insurance and asset protection.
Good morning, everyone. TGIF, and welcome to Business Leaders of Today. Our show will introduce you the brightest, sharpest business leaders around this great city of Atlanta. I'm Angel Nowlin with the Nowlin Group Agency. I specialize in business insurance, where we care about what you care about. My co-host is Tess Turin, Basic of Marketing. She's a marketing advertising specialist. And our second guest is Job Milfort of Prelo and Milfort. Good morning, Job.
Good morning, Angel. Good morning, Tess.
Good morning.
Now, what's Prelo and Milfort?
Well, Prelo and Milfort.
Prelo, I'm sorry.
That's right.
I'm from the South. Everything's pre.
Right. Prelo and Milfort is an employment law, business law firm. We primarily help professionals and businesses with their employment law issues, and that can range from a variety of issues because obviously as you're talking about building your business, the bigger you grow, you tend to have legal issues, particularly with respect to employees and complying with all the various laws that apply to employers. And so that's what we primarily do. We also do personal injury law, as Mark was talking about a few moments ago. Folks get injured through the carelessness of others, and we ensure that they're remedied for their wrong, and that's kind of what we do.
Mm-hmm. So no divorce?
No.
Just for fun. No, you don't want a bad divorce?
No, we don't do family law issues. we kind of focus in on business-related issues with respect to employees and contractual issues. Sometimes you may enter into an arrangement and it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, and so we tend to go in and get relief for our clients.
So, Job, tell us about the employment law. What is the biggest misconception out there?
Well, the biggest misconception is that something that's not fair or that doesn't feel good doesn't necessarily mean it's against the law. And likewise with the employers, sometimes or small businesses, when an employee has a concern, sometimes communication is key. A lot of my issues, a lot of my cases, like much in life, it's a failure of communication. And so if you keep the communications lines are open, that tends to reduce the amount of issues that flow. Sometimes when employers get sued, they go and they're not talking to the employee and they're not giving them the information that they need, and that's not always the best strategy to try to resolve issues.
I tell my husband that all the time.
Right.
It was a failure of communication.
Exactly. You won't do what I say. That's the failure here. You would just mind me, everybody be happy, right?
That's right.
Now, you said you do employment law, you do some personal injury. I got to ask, when it comes to employment law, there's this big talk about minimum wage. It needs to be raised. It's high enough. I guess if you're rich, it's high enough. What do you see some of the issues with as far as you deal with overtime and minimum wage? Well,
the key issue is the law requires that if you work if you're a non-exempt employee and you work over 40 hours a week, you must pay overtime. Sometimes employers, small businesses, they have arrangements with employees where they don't pay the overtime, and that's illegal. You cannot agree to not pay someone overtime. Obviously, if I work the time, I ought to get paid. Likewise with minimum wage. Sometimes if you work an extended amount of hours, it will bring your actual minimum wage below the minimum wage, and that can be a big problem for employers and employees, of course, if you're not getting paid. And so that in fact, that's a big hot ticket item in the law. And sometimes employers, the way the law is structured, if I work the time, you must pay it. And so whether it's $1, whether there's liability for $1 worth of time, the lawyers get paid. So a lot of my cases, the damages may be $5,000 to the employee, but it's $50,000 to the lawyer. And so a lot of times, employers, small businesses need to get on top of that issue and resolve it before it can become bigger than a small issue.
Now, does that also apply to salaried people?
Well, it depends. In the way it's structured, if you're an exempt employee, and that typically means if you're making decisions or certain types of job, you do not have to pay overtime. And of course, a lot of times employers, they try to give folks salary thinking that just by virtue of giving the salary or you're a salaried employee, you're therefore exempt from the overtime rules. And that's not always the case. It depends on job duties and not job titles or the manner in which I pay you. And so a lot of employers and employees, they say, I'm a salaried employee, I don't have to pay you overtime. Well, that's not always the case. And that's how a lot of employers get in trouble. And so, yes, it's and that's why it's important to have an attorney to review your situation to ensure that you're in compliance with the law. Because in this particular law, once you've made the mistake, you're in trouble. There's no, oh, I didn't mean to, or it wasn't intentional, or whatever the case may be. And so, and it could be pretty lucrative for lawyers. And so we tend to like those cases.
Well, yes, because I assume the employer pays you usually, no matter how little the damages are. Is that usually how it works?
Well, it depends on what side I'm on. You're right. If I'm representing a small business, I'm typically on an hourly arrangement. And so whether we are there for 5 hours or 100 hours, I'll get paid. Likewise, when I'm representing employees or professionals, all of my time will be compensated, and that's critical because again, you could be liable to the employee for a nominal amount, but the lawyer gets all his time, and so that's why it's critical to deal with that on the front end and don't let it grow beyond what it needs to grow to.
Well, you're listening to Business Leaders of Today with Tess Turin, your marketing and advertising expert, and Angel Nowlin, your business insurance specialist. And we are speaking with Job Milfort, thank you, attorney at law. Somebody very smart told me one time, have a great attorney and a great accountant. And I took that advice.
Now, my mama told me only two people you got to be honest with, your lawyer and your doctor. And you can tell me any lie you want, but those are the two people you got to be honest with. Well, you sound like you are really into this employment law thing.
Right.
How did you get started in it?
Well, I knew I wanted to litigate cases, which is essentially fight for either side. And when I was coming through, there was a variety of different areas. There's products, liabilities, there's all these different areas. But employment law deals with everybody. Everybody has a job at every very different levels. And the facts, frankly, are typically very interesting. We spend a lot of time on the job, and sometimes it was just an area that intrigued me, and then once I started doing it, really, actually, I had a case where it was sex going on at the job and those types of things, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. If you're going to deal with the law, you might as well deal with some interesting facts. So
you couldn't make up some of that stuff,
right?
Could you?
I mean, you would be surprised what happens.
No, I wouldn't. I worked in corporate America.
Let me ask you this. Being an employment side of things, do you deal with workman comp cases?
We do some, and obviously that trickles into the personal injury area sometimes when injuries, any types of injuries. And so my law partner Oscar, he focuses on that area. I tend to focus on the business side of things, and likewise just the employment issues, not injury issues. But Oscar and our firm, we're certainly capable of handling all those areas of law.
So what's the most challenging part of your firm? Or your cases, should I say?
Well, again, sometimes I have clients that come in and they've been wronged. And sometimes the law does not necessarily have a remedy for them. And so you're sitting there with clients and they know and they feel strong in their hearts and they've been wronged. And they've been wrong and thing has been unfair. But that's not necessarily the key to victory, or you may not necessarily be remedied. And likewise, the way the law is structured, it can be costly sometimes to get relief. And so I have clients who have good cases, but we can't really help them. Likewise, and both from the employee side, likewise on the employer side, we have employers, small businesses that simply can't afford to have attorneys, and so they tend to do it by themselves, and then they'll come to us when it's all messed up.
Right.
And then we have to try to fix it. And sometimes it's hard to tell someone, we can't help you.
Right.
We understand your issues, and it's not necessarily we can't help you. The law does not provide a relief for you, and that can be troublesome because you have a lot of good people who really do not deserve to be harmed, but it is what it is sometimes.
Right.
Well, you're listening to Business Leaders of Today with Tess Turin, your marketing and advertising expert, and Angel Nowlin, your business insurance specialist. And we are speaking here with Job, attorney at law. Job, may I ask, tell us a little bit about your background, your experience, and where you went to school.
Sure. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I went to undergrad at Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, and then I worked for a few years, then I went to Howard University School of Law in D.C. I left Howard and moved to Atlanta about 11 years ago and started working with a big corporate firm where I defended large employers, and I did that for about 5 or 6 years. Then I moved on to another firm where I primarily, again, represented big corporate employers, and now I do both. I represent people, professionals, and small businesses rather than the big mega businesses. And so that's kind of been my path, and that's how I'm here today.
Mm-hmm. Well, the name of your firm is Prelo and Milfort, right?
Correct.
I'm said it right for a change. How did you and Prelo get together? Tell me.
Wow, that's an interesting story. Oscar and I actually were on the opposite sides of each other.
Oh.
Yeah, he's been representing professionals for 15, 20 years now, and I was actually defending. He sued one of my companies. In fact, that was one of the cases where we had sex going on at the job. There was drugs going on at the job, and we fought like bitter enemies for a good piece of the case. But afterwards, we would go out and have some drinks and kind of have a little fun, and then we realized we liked each other. And so when I decided to leave corporate America, we joined forces, and so that's kind of how we've been doing it. And so it's been an excellent experience so far.
Too bad married people can't do that, right?
Right.
Have a knockdown, drag out, but let's go have a drink.
Right,
no,
right.
Instead you have to burn his clothes.
I mean, and it's interesting because we fought, and then we were kind of hanging out at a bar or something, and he would introduce me to the folks as, hey man, this is the guy I've been fighting with all day long.
Right, exactly.
And then folks will look at us like, oh, wow, what are you guys doing sitting here together? But lawyers do what they must, but it's not. Most times it's not personal, and I understand that you have a job to do on the other side, and as do I, and so we get it, and it worked out well. And he has a pretty good personality like me, so it works out.
Who said you had a good personality?
Well, some folks say that.
You do have a good personality for an attorney, one, especially for, as my grandfather would say, a lawyer that does employment law, because usually I've met some employment law attorneys. Yeah, they will put you to sleep.
A little dry, huh?
That's the understatement of the year.
Yeah. We try to keep it interesting and try to keep it live, because and that's part of the reason why I do employment law, because there's always something interesting that happens in the case. And earlier you mentioned about being honest to two people. A lot of the times what happens is clients come to us on both sides, and they want to paint themselves better than they really are.
Absolutely.
And we always say, it's best to tell us the whole truth so that we can manage it. It's nothing worse than to find something out midway through a case and you're trying to undo that. And so,
right.
Yeah, we would and particularly since everything you tell us is confidential. But we tell folks that, and they always, I've told you everything. And about 90% of the times, we always learn something new in the case,
right?
And I'm like, well, didn't you think of this? And they'll try to massage that,
right,
hoping and wishing that it would not come out. But most times it will come out, and it's better to deal with it on the front end than to have us try to undo something,
right?
Because then folks could tell that we're lawyering them, or we're not being genuine, and that's the worst thing that can happen.
Right? You don't want to defend. It's hard to defend a client that's not being honest with you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And folks always say, I'm telling you the truth. I promise this is it. This is all. But exact like 90, and I want to say 95% of the times.
Yeah.
You always find something out, and you present it to your client, and they just conveniently forgot. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's two people you got to be honest with, or you can be honest with: your lawyer and your doctor, because you can't tell anybody.
Exactly.
And if you do, that's a lawsuit within itself, right?
That's exactly right. And we work hard to get our licenses, so we tend not to right, and we tend not to disclose information. And we, admittedly, we tend to uncover information that's pretty sensitive, and so we recognize that you don't want to just share that information, because I wouldn't want my information shared either. So
right.
That's kind of how that operates.
So tell me, Job, how does your business receive new clients? How do people find you?
We largely through attorney referrals, but some of the marketing issues that or initiatives that have been discussed, we're on social media, our website. We try to increase traffic to
right.
our website. Word of mouth. We do things like this where we're on the radios and different venues to try to expose ourselves, but it's largely through other attorneys. If you become decent at what you do, attorneys tend to refer clients to you, and if you treat them, like you want to be treated, that tends to increase. Other clients sends us a lot of business, and so that's pretty much how it works.
Okay. All right. Well, Joe, tell everybody how they can reach Prelo and Milfort.
That's Prelo.
Prelo. I
That's
know,
right,
I'm messing
my
with you.
partner.
Prelo should have came.
Right. You can reach us at www.pmlawteam.com. That's www.pmlawteam.com.
And it doesn't matter which attorney they go to?
No, it doesn't matter. We're one and the same. Just give us a call or check us out, and we'll see if we can help you.
I'm Tess Turin with Basica Marketing, your lead generator, helping businesses from data to doorstep.
And I'm Angel Nowlin, the Nowlin Group, your business insurance expert, where we care about what you care about.
Stay tuned and have a great weekend, everyone.